I think everybody needs to work together. I think we've been too fragmented. BIM have their work programme. The research institutes are doing research on various aspects of seaweed. Teagasc is working on seaweed. Enterprise Ireland's working on seaweed. We're all working on seaweed, but I don't believe we're properly networking and speaking to each other and actually having conversations in a room together. I think if collectively all of the agencies and the research institutions and the farmers as key part of that come together and all put our shoulder to the wheel, I believe we could accelerate this sector. And ISIF as well.
I'd agree with Joanne. Everybody needs to work together, but I think in that what would be useful is to prioritise. Okay, you need research, you need Teagasc, you need the consumer side through Bord Iascaigh and BIM, but then I think what would be useful, any industry that's kind of nascent and getting off the ground, you need quick wins, early wins. So what are the areas that you can come to market quickly at scale and prove that this is this sector, and also for growers and to give confidence to everybody in the sector. And it's picking that one or two areas or products, right, we're going to absolutely be successful here and just knock the ball out of the park.
So, we're very lucky with our second Turtle Talk to be discussing the potential of Ireland as a seaweed country in Europe. So, please welcome to the floor Joanne, Aquaculture Technical Manager at BIN, and Cathal, who is a Senior Investment Director for Food and Agriculture for the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund. But it'd be great if you could do a little bit more of an intro or expand a little bit on what a day in the life looks like for you guys and where seaweed ties into that story.
So the Aquaculture Technical section in BIM, we're a small team, but we work with all areas of the aquaculture industry, so salmon, shellfish and seaweed. And our key role is looking at new technologies, new systems, new husbandry methods for the Irish aquaculture industry, de-risking new technologies, new processing, new processes essentially, and demonstrating those to the industry to their benefit, with a key focus on environmental sustainability and resource use. So what we ideally do is find technologies around the world, find systems, find solutions, demonstrate those in trials in Ireland, and then hopefully foster commercial adoption to the benefit of the sector. So
thank you very much.
That's our key role.
Beautiful.
The Ireland Strategic Investment Fund, we're a sovereign development fund of the state of Ireland, and we invest on a commercial basis, but also for impact, and the impact in Ireland with employment and economic benefit to the state. Within the economic impact mandate, climate and sustainability is a key goal of the fund. We have four main pillars of our investment strategy: Indigenous businesses, climate, infrastructure, housing, and food and agriculture. And within that, food and agriculture and sustainability would cross over a number of those mandates. So the National Food Strategy, Ireland's National Food Strategy sets the goal of Ireland becoming a leader in sustainable food systems internationally. So seaweed fits very much into all of those goals, and our investment strategy is very much aligned with our National Food Strategy. So it can play a role. And as a sovereign investor, we're looking for sectors where Ireland has a natural advantage and where sectors may be subscale, and where we can intervene either indirectly through funds that we support, or directly as those companies mature, we can come in directly ourselves to support the business. So we're very much looking for areas where Ireland has those natural advantages and where those advantages can be scaled into the future. So we take a long-term view, being a sovereign fund. So it very much aligns with the goals that the Seaweed Company and the seaweed sector are seeking to achieve. And we work very closely with other state agencies like BIM, Enterprise Ireland, Bord Iascaigh, and Department of Agriculture. So we're very much integrated with that, and we bring that commercial investment lens to that.
On that front, Are there any other reasons why seaweed particularly appeals to you guys?
There are many reasons. I suppose if you look at the underlying trends in seaweed, Europe as a bloc imports a lot of seaweed. Demand is rising. I think globally demand is rising about 12%. It's dominated internationally by cultivated seaweed, whereas within Europe it's wild harvest. So that would imply there's probably a lot of growth to come. Policy is very much aligning behind that, and obviously as an investor you're kind of looking at policy, and from an EU level right down to an Irish level, the policy in Ireland is now coming very much in favour of that. Obviously it's on a journey, but we can see it through the aquaculture licenses, they're coming through, but it's, as Joost mentioned earlier, it's a full ecosystem that needs to be developed. You need the downstream processing, you need obviously at the farm level the downstream processing, then into the market, the customer acceptance. But as a country, we have a very highly sophisticated, well-developed food industry, which is supported by state agencies who are leading and best in class. Origin Green means we have a very high image of our food industry internationally, and it's well recognised as that. So we have a lot of the key ingredients that would give you confidence as an investor. While it's a nascent sector and it still has a journey to go, that pathway is there, and it some way looks like the byproducts of dairy sector back in the 70s, like whey and all those, that you had the core products, but actually the byproducts ultimately became really, really valuable, and in some cases more valuable than some of the commodity products. I think seaweed is probably on a journey like that, which may take some time, and collaborations are obviously a key part of that.
Well, on that front, Joanne, I've read a lot of BIM's papers on seaweed all the time, actually, because when I'm writing market research or whatever, it's always front of mind. You guys take a pretty pioneering approach, I'd say, too, with regards to aquaculture in general. But what for you, on those points there, what else makes seaweed such an attractive proposition for Ireland? Why is Ireland uniquely positioned in your mind for being a production hub for seaweed?
I suppose Ireland, we have a varied aquaculture sector, and we've always sought to have multiple offerings because our cost of productions will be high. We'll never compete in terms of volume in international markets. So it's high value, niche, specialist products, and seaweed definitely lends itself to being a component of the Irish aquaculture offering. And having that reputation as being clean and green and high quality foodstuffs, seaweed, as we discussed earlier, as you talked to Joost earlier, is uniquely positioned there. So we do believe it's a key component. And I suppose we've been looking at where we go, what we do different. We've had a long running seaweed program. I came into my current role about 4 years ago. Got dropped firmly into seaweed about 18 months ago when our seaweed officer is unfortunately on a long-term sick leave. So I've really looked at seaweed, and it's like, what do we do different? How do we change our offering? And how do we assist companies? So I know colleagues worked with Lorraine on your processing facility. We're looking at new growing technologies, ways to increase biomass based on the available license site. What is it that we can do, or we can do differently as an organisation to aid this sector moving forward? Because we do believe now is the time. We believe the European supports are there with the algal strategy. Our national strategic plan has a focus on low trophic aquaculture. We have, I suppose, the national strategic plan has written the plan to 2030. Seaweed focuses highly in that. That will drive our work programme. So, as Joost said, now is the time. If we're going to do it, I believe now is the time to
Can I ask a question to build on that, Joanne? It's maybe, and this may be interesting for people in the room as well that are farming seaweed. Through what lens is BIM looking then how to support or when to support? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
We are open to all suggestions. So I've been talking to your colleagues as well. If people are aware of new technologies or new systems that are out there internationally that are available, we are here to support those, to look at trials, to collaborate. We're here if people are developing processing facilities, developing new culture sites. Once our operational program is up and running, we shall be in a position, hopefully, to grant aid. Seaweed enterprises appropriately licensed. Our regional team assists people with adding new technologies to their licenses. We have a team that's based all around the country, and we're happy to intervene at all levels. We have the Hatch program where we work in investment, as you well know, so processing and other products as well. Like BIM is available to intervene at any point. It's come to us, ask the questions, and we'll do what we can to help. Our door is open.
Super. On that point, Cathal, maybe you can jump in here. You mentioned many of the positives of seaweed and what you'd like to see, but risks. From an investment point of view, what's a risk? What's the challenge that you want to see the ecosystem work on to get it to the next level?
Yeah, I suppose as an investor, you're trying to prove out your investment case. You're trying to see, have you got access to the raw material, and the processing capacity, and then your product into the marketplace. Have you got consumer acceptance, offtake agreements, and all of that? So all of those, you're trying to get some level of certainty on that, and some level of I suppose, insight into the scalability, because generally it's built on a scale-up plan. So, will you have, as I said, the access to the biomass? That comes back to both the aquaculture licenses and the ability to scale those out, and then the harvesting, and then the equipment and processing. So it is an integrated supply chain that you're looking at as an investor. And at some point, if you're investing, you have to take a kind of a bit of a punt and say, or a risk, all right, we'll go for this because we can see the market opening up in front of you. But as many of those that you can tie down with as much certainty or as much evidence behind that we have an investable case, I think. And it's important for the company itself to go through that rigor, because ultimately the company is on a journey. It's a commercial enterprise, and that's what brings sustainable jobs to regions, that you have a sustainable business. You don't want to get built on kind of a weak premise that ultimately it may fail in the future. So it does need that rigor. But along the way, at all legs in the supply chain, you want to see that it's built on solid foundations, that ultimately we would typically come in, the larger check size, you typically have funds to do the RSH, which we will work close with, but we're ready and waiting then once that scale up is needed. And it's a sector that, if it does get traction and is making penetration in the marketplace, as you just mentioned earlier, the scale is there. It can be, if you're talking about replacing 25% meat, that's a huge market. So you'll need a large volume of product, which is very good. You'll need significant amounts of investment, and that's where we can come in quite strong when in that scale up journey. But the more certainty you have along the way to prove out that investment case is critical.
Is there an area of the value chain where you'd both like to see a little bit more investment funneling into at this stage? Is there an area where you're seeing a particular pain point that could do with a bit more prioritization?
I think it's all along the value chain, because it all has to kind of go in tandem. It's great to see Seaweed Company are opening their processing facility, because that kind of releases another bottleneck. So you've processing capacity now. It probably needs to go back to farm level on the biomass, but also then you're trying to create the market for the product. So it does need to all kind of grow up in tandem. But at certain points, some investments may need to lead the others, and then well, okay, I have the biomass, I can invest in the processing capacity because I know I have the raw material. So there is a bit of chicken and egg at times, but somebody needs to take a jump at various points along the way. But it's very encouraging. There's now processing capacity here, so now well, investing in the at the production side, you can see it will be processed and so forth. So
yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that chicken and egg, you need biomass to support the processing, and vice versa, is I think it's been one of the key bottlenecks. And we have small producers who want to grow seaweed, who believe in seaweed aquaculture, but like that, grow it and then what am I going to do with it? Where is it going to go? I have a product here, but I have no real market for it. A lot of the successful businesses, they've created their own market or their own outlet, but that tends to be small scale artisanal suppliers. So it does need a leap of faith to scale and to move forward. And, you know, it's great to see people, and we're happy to support people who are taking those steps, because as your ecosystem builds, I think it's only beneficial to all producers, be they small or larger. Everyone will get the benefit from that.
And talking of ecosystem and ecosystem requirements, what in your mind are the collaborations that we need to build this flywheel, to really accelerate the flywheel for this area of Ireland?
I think everybody needs to work together. I think we've been too fragmented. BIM have their work programme. The research institutes are doing research on various aspects of seaweed. Teagasc is working on seaweed. Enterprise Ireland's working on seaweed. We're all working on seaweed, but I don't believe we're properly networking and speaking to each other and actually having conversations in a room together. I think if collectively all of the agencies and the research institutions and the farmers as key part of that come together and all put our shoulder to the wheel, I believe we could accelerate this sector. And ISIF as well. Didn't mention.
I'd agree with Joanne. Everybody needs to work together. But I think in that, what would be useful is to prioritise, okay, you need research, you need Teagasc, you need the consumer side through Bord Iascaigh and BIM. But then I think what would be useful, any industry that's kind of nascent and getting off the ground, you need quick wins, early wins. So what are the areas that you can come to market quickly at scale and prove that this is this sector, and also for growers and to give confidence to everybody in the sector. And it's picking that one or two areas or products, right? We're going to absolutely be successful here and just knock the ball out of the park on this particular one. It sounds like food, fertilizers, probably it's in that space, and then to try and premiumize it. I think the way ESG is going, the way sustainability is going, the way climate goals are going, the time looks right because retailers are looking for solutions, and various alternatives may not be delivering. So that certainly looks wrong, but I wouldn't like to be the judge of that. But I think just getting clear across all of those participants, okay, what are the areas we focus on, and then collectively we prioritize that right across all those state agencies and get a success there, and then work back. It's like any market entry strategy, you need a beachhead, and then you kind of work out for that. And then the higher value ones may follow on behind that, or may run in parallel, but at a lower priority. But you need that quick win that gets the volume, gets the confidence, underpins the investment in the processing capacity at farm level. And then there's probably a piece around the organisation of the industry as a cooperative type model, needed in terms of how we organise it, because through a cooperative model, de facto you have a collaboration almost inbuilt in that, an exchange of knowledge right from the marketplace back to the production, because they all need to be in sync. And our dairy co-ops are a good example of that, and how they evolved over the years. It's kind of a good share of knowledge and a good share of pricing and transparency. So it's probably worth, as it evolves, thinking of that to facilitate that whole exchange of knowledge and innovation. Can we channel back through that?
I was wondering, maybe shall we open the floor to see if there's a question, because I have two interesting people and funding on the table. Are there questions? John?
Licenses take so long for farmers in Ireland, and technologies are adopted very slowly by the government. Why is that still the case? Why aren't there more facilitators improving the granting of licensing and acting as a go-between between the government and the farmer?
I wouldn't speak for my parent department. However, what I would say is that if you look at the National Strategic Plan, there's a recognition in there that licenses do need to be more adaptive, and that we need to be responsive of new technologies. So that is in the National Strategic Plan for the first time. It's how we action that, and I understand that there's frustration and, people want to see things move quickly. Unfortunately, legislative requirements are there, the legislation is there, it lays down a process. The environmental legislation is very restrictive in how we make changes and the processes that go through. There is the capacity to look to add new technologies to licenses. That's in the Fisheries Acts. There's also in there to seek a review. Yes, you can't seek a review in the first 3 years you have a license, but there is capacity to change. And I appreciate maybe sometimes people feel that doesn't happen quick enough. But that recognition is there. And if you have a look at the administrative section of the National Strategic Plan for Sustainable Aquaculture, it talks about this. There is a recognition that we will need to adopt new technologies as they become available, which will be more environmentally friendly, which will lead to increases in biomass and winds. And there's an acknowledgement in the system of that. And I think that's an important step forward. And I do believe that the doors are open in the licensing authority to talk to people about new technologies. That has been my experience, that they are happy and they're much more willing to see new technologies that are more environmentally friendly. So we've been doing trials with oyster producers over the last number of years. People have gotten technology and trials added to their licenses. It's moving in that direction. I appreciate sometimes people feel it isn't moving fast enough, but it is moving, I believe.
Super. But it's a nice dynamic to have the pioneers and the legislation and together speed things up. So.
Yeah. Any other questions from the floor? Stefan? Yeah. Who should lead the charge to develop a more cohesive, action-focused facilitator to improve that process and drive the seaweed industry on?
No, I think BIM has a strong role to play in this, and we've identified there is a need. We're conscious, we'll be talking Seafarer here, and they're talking later about they're going down this road as well. BIM has a key role to play. We do work with industry working groups. We have an oyster working group where we bring the industry together. Maybe we do have a strong role in here, but I suppose that's above my pay grade. You'll have to talk to Caroline later on that. But, we are here. We do want to assist. We will intervene where we can to aid this sector to move forward. But Utheros, I know as well, looking at Moira, have a great interest in seaweed and a historic interest in it as well. So I know they've attempted this before to bring people together. So there's lessons from the past as well that's important we learn before we go off on a solo run.
And maybe this could also be driven by the funding side. Maybe it's an interesting idea to say, like, we only fund if you can show that you work together, that you partner up, and that we, let's say, have a preference for companies that team up to speed up technology rather than having company to company. So, and maybe that could be a requirement from you as well.
I think it'll fall out of the investment case anyway, because you'll want to see that collaboration, because there is a reliance on a lot of the state agencies and the licensing. So it's a natural. I think it should be a natural consequence of an industry that's scaling up. But I think we have to make a conscious effort. I think Stefan's question is a good one, that we need to keep it forefront of the mind. That are we collaborating enough? Are we doing enough? The departments do need to work within legislation. There are confines there. That's just the practical realities of life. It's a highly contested area. Lots of areas in agriculture, and we see it all the time as we're investing. It's not unusual for projects of ours to be delayed for quite lengthy periods in the years because of the various appeals or whatever are going on. So that's the harsh reality. But having said all of that, we got to make progress, and that collaboration is essential. And if we want to build this sector, we need to have that collaboration. But the state agencies and everybody involved need to comply with the legislation, and that's just the reality that they work in, and it's in the industry's interest that they're able to do their job to the best possible way, because ultimately you'll pay for down the line if a shortcut is taken or if something is missed, there'll be an objection or something will happen, and that impacts in investments. And we've seen in the past investments whereby that happened and they've fallen away because of those delays. And sorry, I would like to call out the work that Udros doing this. I think I missed them earlier. Sorry, I just see Mario there. Because they have been pioneers in this area way back and so forth. So a lot of credit. They've been investing in this area before lots of others. So a lot of work, and there's a knowledge bank in there as well that I think they're a critical actor in this whole space as well.
So anyways, I think we'll wrap up there and then we'll move on to the next talk.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.